Amazing revelation. Single dad mechanic transforms farmer's truck, discovering her hidden million. Tom wiped sweat from his brow as he knelt in front of Clara's rusted truck, each laboring breath filled with a familiar tension. As a mechanic, he found comfort in the rhythm of his tools and the scent of motor oil, each repair a breath of much-needed normalcy since losing his wife. But amidst the clang of metal, his heart raced with conflicting emotions. The truck was a symbol of Clara's independence, and now he felt her struggles intertwining with his own. What would she think if she knew the hidden trust fund he'd stumbled upon? He hesitated over his next move. Should he tell her? The thought ignited an internal storm. Wealth, especially this kind, could warp the very fabric of their shared values. He wanted to help her, to alleviate her burdens, but the idea of suggesting she accept what seemed unearned gnawed at him. Every morning began with Lily's laugh, her joy infusing life into his garage. But Tom also felt the weight of responsibility. Lily deserved far more than he could currently give. Would revealing this fortune alter their paths forever? With a forceful breath, he contorted himself to peer deeper into the grazing shadows of the dashboard. He had to discover more. It was as if the truck predicted the tempest brewing beneath the surface. Each rusted bolt he pulled away only amplified his conflict. This was Clara's legacy set against his instinctual drive to protect their pride. Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now, let's continue. With each day of wrenching and reassembling, Clara and Tom's connection deepened, yet the air crackled with tension. Clara's fierce pride held her captive, threading doubt into every conversation about the potential fortune. Her fierce independence, the very quality that drew Tom closer, now pushed him away. He was torn between wanting to soothe her discomfort and reassuring her that accepting help did not equate to being a failure. One afternoon, as they wiped sweat from their brows beneath the setting sun, Clara's frustration bubbled over. "It doesn't feel right, Tom. I worked my fingers raw for everything. How do I trust this money won't turn me into something I despise?" Each word felt like a jab, severing the fragile bond they had begun to forge through shared labor. His hands tightened around the wrench, anxiety coursing through him. Her steadfast pride mirrored his own desperation. The pressure of keeping his garage afloat and offering Lily stability weighed on his shoulders. What kind of future would he be building if he didn't guide Clara through her inheritance? But the thought of claiming a piece of Clara's father's legacy felt like betrayal. All these emotions clashed within him, a tornado of doubt, fear, and unyielding determination. In that charged moment, they locked eyes, each trying to decipher the other's turmoil. Just as Tom opened his mouth to speak, a loud knock interrupted them, foreshadowing news that could shatter the lingering tension and possibly their blossoming connection. Outside the garage door, reality lingered, and Tom's heart sunk into his stomach. Whatever awaited them could tip the scales in either direction. The door swung open, revealing a man in a crisp suit, his presence a stark contrast to the oil-stained environment of the garage. Tom instantly felt a ripple of unease wash over him. The man looked wealthy and powerful, radiating an air that suggested he belonged in boardrooms rather than beneath this grease-stained roof. "Tom Hayes?" the stranger asked, surveying the garage with a mixture of disdain and curiosity. "That's me," Tom replied cautiously, wiping his hands on a rag, half expecting the man to introduce himself with a dismissive smirk. "I'm Nathaniel Wilkins, from the law firm Wilkins & Associates. I represent Clara's father's estate," he continued, unfolding a leather portfolio filled with documents that seemed to weigh 1,000 pounds. The mention of Clara's father's estate thrust Tom back into his thoughts about the trust fund. His heart raced as reality blurred with speculation. The impending conversation weighed heavily on every lingering word. Is Clara here? Nathaniel's gaze shifted to the half-finished truck, the embodiment of Clara's hard work and resilience. Just a moment, Tom stammered, motioning for Clara to join them. He caught her eye, studying her expression for signs of dread, curiosity, or perhaps a glimmer of hope. As Clara approached, Nathaniel launched into the specifics of her inheritance, his voice monotone and devoid of any emotion. Tom felt the ground shift beneath him, the revelation striking like a hammer against fragile glass. The weight of it all lay squarely on Clara's shoulders. Clara, your father left you a substantial trust fund, $1 million to be exact. Given your current financial situation, it's crucial you understand the potential of this asset, he stated matter-of-factly. Clara's face drained of color. I can't, she began, her voice barely a whisper. I can't accept this. It's too much. Tom watched her struggle, her pride wrapping around her like thrumming vines, choking the chance for her to see the truth. This inheritance was not just a burden, but perhaps an opportunity to redefine herself beyond the boundaries imposed by hard work alone. Clara, Tom interjected, searching for the right words, your father wanted you to have this because he believed in your potential, in what you could do with it. You've earned your independence, but this could help you build something more. Tension danced in the air as Nathaniel leaned back, observing the emotional battlefield unfolding before him with detached interest. Tom's heart plummeted at the sight of Clara's inner conflict, her brows knitted in anguish as she battled the allure of financial freedom against the powerful chains of her integrity. Clara's voice trembled, revealing the depths of her pride. What if I become someone else without realizing? I've fought my whole life to make my own way. The onslaught of remnants from their earlier disagreement scraped at Tom's resolve. He understood the weight of her struggle. The fierce independence she displayed was mirrored in his own determination. But with Lily's laughter echoing in his mind, the possibility of a better future was worth pursuing together. Nobody is asking you to change who you are, Clara. You have the strength to navigate this. But this wealth can be a tool, not a curse, he urged, feeling an urgency he had never known before. As Clara mulled over his words, uncertainty flickered in her eyes, mingled with the slightest hint of curiosity. The future stood before them like an unmarked road sign, and for the first time, Tom felt the pull of clarity amidst the chaos. As Nathaniel shuffled through the documents, waiting for an answer, a new connection began to blossom between Tom and Clara, one that threatened to merge their conflicting struggles into a collective strength. Just then, a sudden realization struck Tom like a spark. This moment might reveal not only who Clara was, but who he could become in the process. The choices they made in the face of adversity could transform their lives far beyond a mere inheritance. Will Clara embrace her inheritance, or will her fears overshadow the opportunity? And what about Tom? Could he finally confront his own hesitations in this newfound alliance? As they stood on the brink of a pivotal decision, the weight of uncertainty loomed larger than ever. Tom's heart quickened as he watched Clara's brows furrow deeper. He could see the gears turning in her mind, the battle between independence and the comfort of financial security playing out in real time. The atmosphere in the garage felt thicker with unspoken words. The sound of tools clinking and engines humming faded into the background. "Clara," he said firmly, grounding his voice as if it held the weight of conviction necessary to anchor her fears. "You aren't losing yourself by accepting this. You're opening doors for possibilities you never thought could exist. This could be your foundation to support your dreams rather than a burden shackling you down." Her gaze darted away towards the half-finished truck. The very embodiment of her identity stared back at her, a testament to years of hard work, sweat, and grit. "What if I take this money and ruin everything? I don't know how to manage that kind of responsibility, Tom. I'm not saying you have to do it alone, Tom replied, stepping closer, feeling the urgency of the moment. We can figure this out together. You have skills that can be sharpened. You can learn financial literacy, plan budgets, or even invest in something meaningful. You've built this truck. You can build a life even more robust than you imagined. Clara's eyes flickered with vulnerability, the protective facade momentarily cracking. You don't understand the weight of expectation that comes with that money. I could be judged. What if I fail? Every day we take a risk, Tom said, his voice softer now. When you pick up a wrench or dive into an engine, it's a risk, but you do it anyway because you love it. Life comes with its uncertainties. Money is just a tool. What matters is who wields it. Nathaniel, still perched at the edge of the conversation like a hawk surveying its prey, cleared his throat, interrupting the intimate flow of thoughts. If I may, Clara, this isn't just a windfall, it comes with the potential for investment and growth. I can assist in finding financial advisors and making informed decisions. Your father believed you could handle this. Tom's mind raced. He understood it wasn't just about Clara's father's faith in her, but also about revealing Clara's hidden strengths to herself. This moment wasn't only about the inheritance, it was about a decisive step towards maturity and self-perception. Could it also be a moment for him to evolve? Maybe this isn't about fear or judgment, he said, reclaiming the conversation's direction. It's about embracing your potential. While you've strained under the weight of independence, this could be the support system you never had. You're not expected to disconnect from your roots. Clara took a deep breath, searching Tom's eyes for signs of hope or temptation. What if I change for the worse? Without this struggle, how would I measure growth? Tom pondered her question, aware that he too was at a crossroads. His own aspiration had always been pushed aside for practicality, but this was a chance not just for Clara, but also for him to see something greater. Struggles are important, yes, he replied, searching for clarity, but they don't have to come with a high price. You can choose to invite growth from a place of strength instead of pain. As Clara remained silent, the answers lingered in the air between them, heavy yet hopeful. Tom felt the distance closing, both of them standing on the precipice of a future they had yet to envision. Then Nathaniel's voice broke through again, more insistent this time. Clara, if you choose to accept this trust, the parameters will dictate how it's managed. Investing in a career or furthering your skills could change your trajectory, secure your future. Tom saw it then, the flicker of determination sparking in Clara's gaze. She was on the cusp of a breakthrough, and he was resolutely aware that how she chose to step into that light would define them both in ways they weren't ready to fathom. The moment demanded action, but Clara hesitated, a silent war behind her eyes. Would she choose the path laid before her, filled with possibilities, or would her fear keep her bound to the garage, stalwart but stagnant? As they stood on the threshold of transformation, the question hung heavy. What legacy would she choose to embrace? Tom realized he needed to confront his fears alongside hers, perhaps for the first time in a long time. The uncertainty of their next move loomed large, amplifying the stakes. Would Clara dare to take that leap with him? Would he find the courage to step into a larger role in her life, lifting both their ambitions into something greater? The decision awaited them, an unresolved tension crackling in the air, promising either liberation or lingering doubts. Clara felt the weight of Nathaniel's words pressing down on her, each syllable a reminder of the possibilities swirling around her. The garage had become a sanctuary, yet now it felt like a cage constraining her aspirations. She glanced at the half-finished truck once more, its bare metal and exposed components a mirror of her own internal reconstruction. She could almost hear the engine purring with potential, whispering encouragement with every turn of her mind's gears. "I need time to think," she finally said, her voice steadier than she expected.
The words escaped her like a small act of rebellion against the looming pressure from her father's legacy and all that it implied. Tom nodded, receptive but not entirely satisfied. Taking time is critical, he agreed, but don't let that time be another way to escape what's right in front of you. Consider what accepting this trust could truly offer you. His insight triggered a flood of self-evaluation. Clara had become adept at self-reliance, acquiring skills in mechanics and cultivation as she fought to carve out her territory in a world that rarely recognized her prowess. But her heart raced now with another essence, a hint of ambition that dared to unearth dreams she had long buried. She glanced at Tom, noting the intent gleam in his eyes. They shared a silent understanding, a bond that had grown in the trenches of grease and hard work. Perhaps she was not the only one standing on the precipice of a major decision. Was Tom's face reflecting his own hidden ambitions? "What if I fail at managing the money?" Clara challenged, her voice rising, veering from contemplation into urgency. "What if I squander my chance?" "Failure won't define you unless you let it," Tom replied, his tone now emboldened. "You're already building something from nothing with this truck. This money is a means to cultivate further what you value. You've never let doubt limit your hands on metal and grease. Let's apply that resilience to this, too." The realization hit her. They had both been tiptoeing around the very essence of their fears, and it was in the act of confrontation that liberation awaited. Clara inhaled deeply, feeling the fabric of her identity woven with threads of both gift and responsibility. "We would need a plan," Clara mused.
The idea gathering substance in her mind. I could take financial literacy classes, maybe even reach out to that business workshop they offer at the community center. I could set up protective measures, structured investments aimed at what I really want to develop. A gleam sparked in Tom's eyes. She recognized it as admiration. But beneath that admiration lay another layer, a challenge posed back at him. "Exactly, and together we can break it down. You have me, and I need your skills just as much as you might need this financial support." Without being fully aware, Clara was beginning to paint her future out loud, the walls of the garage no longer confining, but expanding to embrace possibility. The potential for growth tugged at her, not as an inheritance from her father, but as a journey she could orchestrate for herself and for both of them. Yet, this newfound clarity generated a counterbalancing sense of dread. What if she didn't have the courage to step beyond her current reality? What if embracing potential meant losing parts of herself she held dear? Those questions hovered at the edges of her thoughts, refusing to fade. "I'll think about it," she replied, shaky but resolute. "It's not just money I have to consider. It's what I'll build from it, what I might be losing if I don't embrace it. And I'll be right here every step of the way," Tom assured her, stepping closer. "Whatever comes next will be built on the foundation we choose, together." Their eyes met, and for the first time, Clara felt that they were standing equally on the brink of something significant. As they absorbed that moment, a nagging thought emerged in Clara's mind. Was it possible to bridge the gap between hope and fear? The decision stretched out before them, like freshly paved asphalt leading off into the unknown. Clara could feel the faintest thrum of possibility reverberating in her bones. Would she muster the courage to navigate this new terrain? And could she carve her legacy beyond her father's shadow? That question lingered like the smell of motor oil in the air as they each confronted their respective crossroads, the tension hanging expectantly between them. The next step beckoned, and with it, a looming uncertainty about what they would discover, about themselves, each other, and the lives they were determined to build. Clara spent the next few days enveloped in a whirlwind of strategic thinking. The garage, which had so often been her refuge, transformed into a hub of activity. Papers strewn haphazardly across workbenches and the floor. She jotted down notes on every scrap of paper she could find, sketching diagrams for both the truck and a potential business plan that would forge a path to the future she so desperately craved. She pulled up financial literacy courses online, attempted a mock budget, and sought resources on structured investments. Each click on her browser fueled a new kind of adrenaline that came with self-discovery. She reveled in the process. The learning, the calculations, and the plan taking shape like the contours of her truck in the garage. She felt a new identity forming, more than the daughter of a mechanic, more than a mid-level worker in a world too large for her. This new role demanded courage. But with each small victory came the permanence of her choices, each decision draped in the weight of expectation. Would her father's reputation bind her or empower her? She spent sleepless nights grappling with this dichotomy. Her thoughts turned restless, oscillating between ambition and paralyzing self-doubt. Could she truly rise above the lineage of metal and grease to craft something uniquely hers? As she engrossed herself in classes, she began to recognize the complexities of finance echoed some of the mechanical challenges she faced. Just as understanding the inner workings of an engine required patience and precision, so too did mastering financial strategy. With each concept she grasped, that flicker of ambition within her turned into a roaring fire. Tom's presence bolstered her resolve. He worked alongside her, listening attentively to her evolving thoughts. They shared lunch while bouncing ideas back and forth. The threshold between personal and professional blurred as they delved into dreams and ambitions tired of hiding from view. Tom's endorsement molded Clara's determination. Remember, every great mechanic started with a single spark of curiosity, he encouraged during one of their brainstorming sessions. Sparks ignite fires. You're on the verge of something extraordinary. Keep fanning those flames. Their camaraderie deepened. Each time Clara took the leap to voice her thoughts, her confidence surged. It was both exhilarating and terrifying. Was growing beyond her father's legacy possible, or did she risk overreaching? Just when she imagined herself transforming the truck into something revolutionary, a symbol of her growth and independence, an unexpected visitor arrived at the garage. Clara turned, startled, as she saw Nathaniel, the representative of her father's estate, now standing awkwardly at the entrance. His expression read uncertain, as though he were unsure how to step into the space they had cultivated. "What are you doing here?" Clara's voice trembled slightly. "I can see how hard you're working," Nathaniel replied, his tone more reflective than accusatory. "I just came to check in. It's important to your mother that you don't feel carried by expectations. She wants you to create your own legacy." Clara's chest tightened at the mention of her mother. It was a mixed blessing. She never fully understood her mother's intentions until this moment. Nathaniel continued, "There's also something else I wanted to discuss. The trust fund is more flexible than you might think." Her heart raced. What did this mean? Was this the opening she had been waiting for, or a trap veiled in good intentions? The uncertainty loomed, leaving her with unformed questions and uncharted possibilities. Internally, the stakes shifted. Could she accept this assistance without losing her autonomy, or would it chain her to the legacy she wished to redefine? The room felt smaller as she confronted a reality she hadn't prepared for. "Think it through, Clara," Nathaniel urged, almost as if sensing her distress. "You have options to consider. Just know that whatever you decide, we have faith in your potential." As he left the garage, Clara stood alone amid the clattering tools, ambition morphing into trepidation. Every plan she had laid, every spark ignited, seemed to pulse under the question that now dominated her thoughts. Was she ready to seize this opportunity, or would she allow herself to be overwhelmed by inherited expectations? The garage hummed with promise, but simmering beneath that promise lay uncertainty, a question that promised to unravel everything she'd fought to construct. The clarity she sought clashed with a wavering instinct to retreat. Clara inhaled deeply, absorbing it all. This wasn't just about a truck anymore. It was about her evolving identity, her dreams, and the journey ahead as she stood on the precipice of decision. With courage wavering and possibilities swirling, she understood the stakes had risen.
The ignition of her destiny resided within, but she must first confront what she truly wanted and how far she was willing to claim it. Would she take the dive into uncharted waters or revisit the familiar shore? As the shadows of doubt flickered, another question hung in the air: how to carve a legacy that was undeniably hers. Clara lingered in the garage, the weight of Nathaniel's visit lingering in the air. The tools lay scattered around her, a metaphorical landscape of her dreams, aspirations, and fears. Her heart pounded in her chest as she meticulously mulled over their conversation. Thoughts raced through her mind like wild machinery in overdrive. She caught herself oscillating between excitement and anxiety. This was not merely a question of the trust fund. It was an intersection of adherence to familial expectation and the call to carve out her own destiny. Could she reshape that old truck into something revolutionary while leveraging the resources available to her? Or would accepting aid merely heighten her sense of entrapment within her family's shadows? Resolutely, Clara picked up her pen and resumed jotting down her ideas, forcing herself to transition from ruminative spirals to actionable plans. An empowering thought blossomed within her. What if she could blend the old with the new? The trust fund could provide the financial buffer to explore her passion for mechanics further, challenging the norms of her father's legacy while establishing her own. But that was just the beginning. Clara needed a solid foundation. Without a clear vision, she risked drifting into unfocused territory. She delved deeper into her notes, rapidly crafting a detailed plan that combined her mechanical skills with business acumen. She envisioned a workshop dedicated to innovative modifications of vehicles, perhaps even hosting community workshops to share what she had learned. The idea ignited her creativity, each detail crystallizing with a renewed sense of purpose. Hours flew by as she calculated potential costs and revenue streams for her workshop. The financial literacy
courses she had taken melded seamlessly into her newfound resolve. She was motivated by the thought of transforming her father's dusty legacy into a forward-thinking enterprise. Each projection served as a reminder that she was actively taking charge of her narrative. Just then, Tom stepped in, his usual infectious enthusiasm suffusing the space. The camaraderie they had cultivated made it easy for her to let down her guard. "What's cooking?" he asked, leaning over her shoulder. Clara felt a rush of determination at the chance to share her vision. She turned her screen toward him, filled with projections and sketches of her emerging plans. "Wow, Clara, this is incredible!" Tom's eyes sparkled with admiration. "You've tapped into something special. It feels alive." A warmth spread through Clara at his encouragement, yet it solidified an unsettling thought. Would she be able to sustain this energy? Doubts crept in. What if the community wasn't receptive? What if her name held too much weight and not enough credibility? "Do you think I'm being too ambitious?" she asked softly, biting her lip. Tom shook his head firmly. "Ambition isn't a flaw. It's a tool. You're ready to forge a path just as much as your dad did, but your way. You should embrace the challenge instead of shrinking back." His words sparked new resolve within her. Clara realized she needed to lean into this ambition, even if it felt uncomfortable. It was a chance to dismantle the remnants of her past that encumbered her growth. The truck wasn't merely an object, it was a launchpad for infinite possibilities. With her confidence reinvigorated, Clara drafted a definitive timeline. She envisioned her first workshop session, a communal gathering emphasizing learning and innovation. The thought of sharing knowledge ignited another fire within her. The prospect of building a network of like-minded individuals excited her. As she outlined the steps necessary for scheduling the first workshop, a knock echoed through the garage. Her stomach sank momentarily as she anticipated another wave of expectation. Yet the door opened to reveal Nathaniel, his expression earnest. "I thought you might appreciate some more guidance. I've brought over the initial documents regarding the trust." Clara stared at him, a mix of anticipation and apprehension coursing through her veins. Should she accept his help entirely, or would it entangle her ambitions?
The papers felt like a turning point, an opportunity weighed down by the potential to either uplift or hinder her growth. Standing at that precipice again, Clara felt the familiar adrenaline pulsing, demanding clarity from her. This could either be the crucial help she needed to uplift her vision, or another layer of obligation pressing against her burgeoning independence. As Nathaniel stepped closer, ready to explain the intricacies of her inheritance, Clara braced herself for the decision that lay ahead. Would she embrace the trust not merely as a safety net, or would she try to forge her path through the uncertainty alone? The path was no longer clear, and the
weight of choice bore heavily on her. In that moment of decision, something shifted inside her. Could this really be her defining moment? The air thickened with possibility, leaving Clara with one pressing thought. How would she choose to navigate this new landscape? Clara stood rooted in her garage, the weight of Nathaniel's visit still pressing upon her. The documents in his hand were not just official papers. They represented a gamble, one that could either set her free or bind her to familial expectations she had long sought to escape. The parchment crinkled between her fingers, each wrinkle a reminder of the trust she could claim. Could it empower her, or would it only tether her to a past she was desperate to transcend? Clara, Nathaniel's voice broke through her reverie, laced with an expectation she was not yet ready to confront. She swallowed hard, her mind racing around the what-ifs that had become a familiar refrain. You'll need to review these carefully. Understanding them is crucial for moving forward. She exhaled, trying to summon her courage, then nodded. Right, I need a moment. Stepping away from him, she paced the width of the garage, her thoughts bouncing off the walls like stray tools. Each step ignited flickers of ambition within her. Visions of her workshop danced on the edges of her mind, while layers of self-doubt threatened to eclipse them. Decisions loomed like machines waiting to be repaired, and she was the mechanic at this crossroads. The idea of her workshop had built momentum inside her since Tom had breathed life into it. It was exciting, invigorating, yet terrifying. Each person she imagined teaching their first knot, their first wrench turn, became a testament to her hope. But what if she failed? What if she failed? Period. Clara? Nathaniel prompted again, a note of urgency creeping in, nudging her to focus. Sorry, I'm just thinking. She returned to him, the document still in his hand like a two-edged sword. Where do I even begin? Review the terms, understand what you can do with the funds, he began, pausing momentarily as he observed her expression. But remember, the decision is yours and yours alone. This can be a launch pad, or it can tie you down. The gravity of his words reverberated in her, igniting an unsettling truth. The control, the very thing she had craved, was now sitting squarely in her lap, yet it felt both empowering and limiting. She could utilize the trust to manifest her dreams, yet in doing so, would she risk becoming entrapped within her family's legacy? Nathaniel's career as a financial advisor was lending him an expertise she desperately needed, yet Clara's instincts urged caution. Let's talk specifics, she said, swallowing her anxiety as determination flooded in. What's my best approach here? What can I do without jeopardizing the essence of what I want to create? He guided her through the initial documents, discussing growth potential and investment strategies. Calculating risks was not foreign to her, but applying them to her life felt gargantuan. She envisioned vibrant community gatherings in her workshop, relationships forming and crafts being honed. Excitement bubbled inside her. What if I host pop-up workshops, she proposed. Introduce people to the kind of creative modifications I have in mind? It could pay for itself through ticket sales. Nathaniel's expression softened. See, you're already thinking like an entrepreneur. Just be mindful of how fast you scale. Manage your resources wisely. Clara chewed on his words, the late afternoon light painting her workspace in warm hues. As they reviewed more options, her anxiety started to transform into actionable insights. The uncertainty still loomed, but she recognized a newfound clarity shaping her plans. This could be her chance to challenge not just her own fears, but the perceptions held by those who thought they knew her. "Maybe I can leverage this trust to fund my own education too," she mused aloud, contemplating the mechanics of her dreams. "If I can combine formal training with my practical experience, I could really establish something unique." Exactly. It's all about bridging the gap between what you know and what you want to learn. As the discussion deepened, Clara realized that the raw materials before her transcended mere financial assets. They could forge a new identity, redefine her path. With each question, each idea unleashed, Clara felt shackles slipping away. She was beginning to see herself not merely as the offspring of a legacy, but as an innovative player carving a niche. When Nathaniel finally left, Clara was left alone with the documents and a flurry of excitement tinged with uncertainty. She clasped her hands together, feeling the first rush of confidence surfacing, a hard-fought sense of ownership over her developing narrative. But it was in that empowerment that she faced a new dilemma, the stark reality of launching something from the ground up. What if her inexperience overshadowed her potential? Yet, was that fear truly hers, or was it another remnant of her father's expectations? Breathless with anticipation and a hint of dread for the road ahead, Clara returned to her sketches. The workshop was but a first step. Within her lay the realization that uncovering her identity would mean confronting deeper fears, testing her resolve. The moment had come to embrace not only the practicalities, but the psychological hurdles accompanying her ambition. As she moved to refine her timeline, a flicker of doubt washed over her once more. Clara couldn't ignore the looming question hanging above her. Was she ready to embrace all that renouncing her past might entail? And so, with her vision growing clearer but not unchallenged, a bold notion brewed within. She would need to face greater obstacles ahead than merely funding her dream. Would she dare to step into the fray completely, confronting not just the mechanics of her aspirations, but the very ghost of her father's legacy? Clara awoke to a sharp sunlight piercing through the dusty windows of her garage, illuminating the scattered blueprints and tools that lay strewn across her workspace. The weight of yesterday lingered in her mind, but with it came something refreshing, a steely resolve to dive into the unknown. The decision to utilize Nathaniel's guidance felt monumental, but now it was time to act, not just dream. She grabbed her laptop, plopping it on her makeshift desk, the worn surface littered with sketches of her workshop and notes from the conversation with Nathaniel. Her hands hovered over the keyboard, but instead of typing, she felt an unsettling tug in her chest. Had she been cultivating an illusion of readiness? Opening a new document, she nestled into the idea, wanting to explore not just the practical side of her ambitions, but their emotional scaffolding. "Why are you scared?" she whispered to herself, feeling a strange comfort in speaking to no one but her own fluctuating aspirations. The fear was familiar, a shadow cast by the expectations she had grown accustomed to since childhood. It gnawed at her determination to launch what she envisioned as a transformative workshop, a center for creativity and learning, rather than merely a replication of her father's business model. What struck her was the realization that part of her fear stemmed from guilt for wanting to step outside the family legacy, for considering a pursuit that diverged from what was already written for her. What if she fluctuated between success and failure? Would her absence from family expectations fracture relationships? Or could her new path serve as a bridge to connect with those who mattered most? Clara's thoughts pivoted sharply. Her fingers began typing furiously, spilling out an outline of her workshop plan. It was more than just funding. It wrapped around community engagement, building a brand, forging an identity. Each line of text transformed uncertainty into tangible actions. She proposed themes for workshops that blended techniques and styles, inviting others into her world rather than dictating how it should look. As she laid out her outline, Clara's vision sharpened. She envisioned the stories that would be shared among participants,
a single mom learning the skill to fix her own bicycle, an artist experimenting with woodworking, a father teaching his child how to craft. All were vivid stories forming the heart of her project. Each person would carry an aspect of struggle, just as she did. Her workshop could become a sanctuary for shared experiences, a place where creativity thrived in vulnerability. Yet within her burgeoning excitement, a voice whispered cautions about scalability. The euphoria of that possibility often eroded under the burdens of logistical reality. Clara slammed her laptop shut momentarily, frustration bubbling up. A wave of insecurity washed over her. The nagging thought that she wasn't cut out for this loomed large. Why would anyone trust her to teach them? It was a cruel twist, her inexperience wrestling with her passion for mechanics. Clara pushed back against the doubt. The doubts that
were echoes of a past she could not let control her future. What if I'm more than I think? She challenged herself, forging resilience out of nervousness. What if she could leverage her father's legacy in a way that honored it without being bound by it? Her family's name offered credibility, but how could she make it uniquely hers? A refreshing thought sparked anew. Maybe the funding could also support mentorship, reaching out to those seeking guidance just as she did. Clara envisioned a collaborative space full of different perspectives, where each contribution added depth to the tapestry of their skills. It was time to build beyond herself. She wasn't merely creating a workshop, she would nurture a community. Spurred on by this newfound clarity, Clara opened her laptop again, ready to draft emails to local artisans, eager to ignite a network around her dreams. But as she typed away, the fear of stepping forward cloaked her like mist, tempting her to retreat. The moment felt rife with tension between desire and hesitation, as if the greater her ambitions loomed, the heavier the implications weighed. Would they reach back to her family? Could she escape the shadow while simultaneously embracing a legacy? As thoughts swirled, the sound of a child's laughter drifted from the neighborhood, pulling Clara's attention. Outside, a little girl was learning to ride a bike, wobbly but determined. An image formed in her mind, a future version of her workshop, where she could guide others through their own stumbles, encouraging resilience in the face of uncertainty. Clara stood up abruptly, an unexpected surge of resolve coursing through her. The work ahead was not just about logistics, it was about cultivating faith in herself and in the unfolding journey. She wasn't just breaking free, she was redefining what her legacy could be. Taking a deep breath, she realized it was time to overcome more than just the challenges of setting up her desired workshop. Clara felt a swirl of excitement tinged with anxiety. What if her first mentorship meeting didn't go as planned? The thought sent a tremor of fear through her, but perhaps that uncertainty was part of the growth she craved. Determination set its roots deeper within her. She was not merely a mechanic forging a business, she was an architect designing her own identity, brick by fragile brick. With a fresh outlook and renewed energy, Clara began sketching her strategic outline, ready to confront whatever obstacles emerged while crafting a space that not only bore her name but captured her essence. Her plan solidified the urgency she felt to start moving forward, but with a question echoing persistently in her mind. Was she really prepared for the waves of resistance ahead, both from within and outside? As she laced up her shoes for a stroll to clear her mind, the thrill of anticipation surged. The next phase awaited, one that would undoubtedly bring her face to face with her father's established reputation. Whatever came next could unveil not just her struggles, but powerful truths recently buried. Would she emerge stronger or unravel at a critical juncture? The true test loomed close. Clara stepped outside, the warm sun highlighted by a light breeze. The neighborhood felt alive as children played, their laughter juxtaposing her inner turmoil. Each step echoed a mix of determination and doubt as she made her way to a nearby cafe, where she planned to meet Nathaniel. Her heart raced. This meeting felt significant, the catalyst for uncharted territory. As she sat at a small table under an awning, she fidgeted with her notebook, tracing circles on its cover. Their discussion would go beyond logistics or trickle into intimate territory. It was time for her to confront her past and the shared legacy that bound her to it. How could she step into a leadership role when the specter of her father's achievements loomed? The cafe door swung open, disrupting her spiral of thoughts. Nathaniel entered, his presence commanding yet reassuring. He greeted her with a broad smile, sensing the conflict just beneath her composed exterior. "Clara," he said, settling down across from her, "I'm eager to hear how your plans are coming along." She offered a tight smile and began sketching her ideas on a napkin, a visual representation of her dreams. "I want to create a space where creativity meets community," she said, her voice wavering at first, then gaining strength. Nathaniel nodded, but Clara sensed a distance in his gaze. "That's noble, but tell me, why do you feel others will trust you?" he probed, tilting his head slightly, his tone firm. "What makes you different?" The question struck deeper than she anticipated. Clara swallowed hard, grappling with a mixture of pride and self-doubt. She hesitated, assessing her insecurities. "I believe in the power of creativity to heal and transform, but—" Her voice trailed off, and Nathaniel leaned in, offering a moment of silence that suffocated her hesitation. "You must accept your limitations, Clara," he said, gently yet assertively. "You're venturing into a space that inherently evokes vulnerability. You have to be prepared for the criticism, both from the outside and within yourself." Painful honesty coursed through her. Clara reflected on her father's legacy, a foundation that teetered between inspiration and an anchor. Could she rise to the challenge without manifesting fear and disappointment? "What if I fail?" she found herself uttering. Nathaniel leaned back, crossing his arms thoughtfully. "Failure doesn't define you. It reveals your growth and resilience. Each time you stumble, embrace those lessons," he replied, a glimmer of wisdom in his eyes. "The question is, how do you integrate those experiences into your vision?" Clara pondered the inquiry, an unsettling clarity unfurling within. "Maybe I need to embrace the fact that I don't have all the answers," she murmured, a nerve tingling at the back of her neck. "Perhaps my vulnerability can be a strength instead of a weakness." With each word, a spark flickered to life within her, fueled by the exploration of possibilities rather than restrictions. The realization came forth. It was about acknowledging her journey, transforming the narrative from fear of inadequacy to the excitement of growth. Empowered, she began outlining her mentorship ideas more boldly, detailing the kinds of workshops she could offer. It wouldn't just be about imparting knowledge. She could create a space of learning through collaboration, allowing others to contribute while she guided them. This approach felt authentic, shedding layers of self-doubt as she embraced her mentors, past and present. Nathaniel nodded, impressed by her transformation. "Now we're talking." Remember, successful leaders don't have to be perfect, they just need to be open to learning and adapting. But even as the words resonated, a deep fear lingered. Would she truly embrace this path, or let the whispers of self-doubt creep back in? As their conversation continued, discussing details of funding and planning, Clara found herself trembling with a mix of exhilaration and trepidation. Her potential felt undeniably real, yet the stakes were higher than ever. She would have to face not just her own fears, but the collective expectations surrounding her. As she wrapped up the coffee meeting, a new uncertainty loomed ahead. Would her first workshop crystallize her identity, or would it expose her vulnerabilities more than she could bear? The curiosity mingled with dread as she walked away, her path clearer yet fraught with emotional potential. Nathaniel's final words hung in the air like a challenge. "The moment has come to face what you fear most, yourself and the legacy tethered to your name." With each step, Clara felt the weight settle more heavily upon her shoulders, her ambition dancing precariously on the edge of doubt and determination. Would she falter before gathering the strength to stand tall on her new ground? The future waited,
but its shape remained uncertain, a blend of potential and peril. Clara stood at the threshold of her garage, a month later, feeling the summer sun warm her back as she gazed at the space that had transformed from a workspace into a sanctuary of growth and possibility. Each tool hanging from the walls, each machine waiting patiently for its time, whispered stories she had come to weave into her own narrative. The first workshop had unfolded a week prior, a thrilling yet nerve-wracking moment. Clara had invited participants into a shared experience steeped in creativity, vulnerability, and the delightful chaos of learning. On that day, she had stood before them, heart pounding like an engine idle before ignition. Yet, as she spoke, guiding hands through their first techniques, doubts began to melt away, replaced by something profoundly liberating: connection. The faces around her glowed as they encouraged one another, laughter echoing through the garage. Each product they crafted symbolized not only newfound skills, but a community emerging from shared ambition. Clara could feel the spark of innovation igniting, the very essence of the legacy she was crafting for herself. That day had marked a culmination of everything she had grappled with. Accepting Nathaniel's mentorship proved invaluable as he helped her navigate the intricacies of her trust, leveraging it not for excess, but as a foundation to innovate and empower. Now, as she swept the floor and cleared remnants from the last session, Clara reflected on how she had conquered the doubts that once held her captive. Just yesterday, she had received a message infused with gratitude from a participant, a mother dedicated to learning mechanics to support her daughter. Clara realized how the impact reached far beyond the garage, becoming part of the rich fabric of individual lives. "Clara," Tom called out from outside the garage, vernacular and enthusiasm threading playfulness into the air. "You won't believe what I found!" She wiped her hands on a rag and stepped outside, peering at him. He approached with a playful grin, holding up an old, scrappy motorcycle covered in dust and weeds. "Thought this beautiful beast could use some TLC. What do you think? Ready for a project?" The sight of the motorcycle energized Clara, a flicker of excitement igniting within her. "Absolutely. Let's do a workshop around refurbishing it. Participants can learn hands-on about engines while reviving this beauty," she suggested, her ideas unraveling as easily as the fabric of her growing confidence. At that moment, something inside her solidified. She had embraced the potential within herself and others. It surged as a vibrant resonance, sweetened by camaraderie and collaboration. But it wasn't merely about sharing knowledge anymore. It was also about exemplifying continuous growth, not just as a mechanic, but as a leader, a mentor, carving her path in uncharted territory. "Consider this my official application to join your next workshop," Tom beamed, breaking her sense of reverie. "Consider it accepted. We'll create a schedule and incorporate our sessions," Clara replied, her voice brimming with newfound assurance. Clara felt the rush of fulfillment. This collaborative energy radiated strength. They were expanding on what she envisioned, a collective journey where every member brought their unique skills, questions, and perspectives. In transforming her father's legacy into something more vibrant and inclusive, she had ultimately reshaped her own identity. As the summer sun dipped low in the sky, Clara found herself waiting for a new initiative. A partnership with the local community center was underway to create free workshops for families. It was a leap of faith, but one anchored in her unfurling understanding of shared responsibility and impact. In this moment, she was not just a mechanic. She was an architect of community and creativity, forming bridges instead of barriers. Clara's journey had led her through doubt and fear, with every roadblock amplifying her resolve and illuminating her purpose. For the first time in years, she stood confident, not as her father's daughter, nor even as a mechanic, but as Clara Collins, a woman unafraid to forge her destiny. Aside inherited notions of success. Exhaling a breath of satisfaction, she embraced the sunlight as it broke through the clouds, illuminating all she had achieved.
The weight on her shoulders felt lighter. She had transformed it into something far more valuable, a testament to her journey ahead. Clara turned to Tom. "Let's get started on this motorcycle," she said, determination threading through her voice. Together, they embarked on yet another project, not just to fix a motorcycle, but to further empower a community that dared to dream together. Everyone's journey is supported by choices and courage. Start your journey of transformation, as Clara did. Don't wait to redefine your path. Every moment is yours. So hit that subscribe button immediately to the channel, ensuring you won't miss the next exclusive emotional stories. Leave a like right now to feed the algorithm, because every gesture of support matters. Comment with your reactions and theories about Clara's journey and what it means for you. And share this video instantly with at least 5 friends who need to be inspired and know they can rise above their struggles. This is the moment to show your support for personal overcoming stories. Don't wait even one more second to share.